Yeah. So now they have actually done two problems based on calculus. Now what we'll do is let us see whether we are able to do it for a third situation. Okay. So what is given here is in the last class we had this a circle, and then along the axis at a distance z we placed a charge q naught and got the expression for the force. Today what we are doing is we are taking this q naught and putting it at the center and then removing one half of it, removing one half of the circle and seeing what is the force that Q naught experiences. Are you following it? It's the
Yes,
same
ma'am.
as the problem. Last time it was a full circle and an axis at a distance z, you place Q naught. Now bring Q naught to the center. If it's a full circle, last time you have seen that if you put it at the center, the force is zero. But now we are not going to have a full circle, we are going to just have half a circle only. Okay, so now you have to find out what is the force experienced by Q naught. Let's assume that Q naught and Q are positive, and let's try solving this problem using polar coordinates. Okay, so how do you start? What is the usual way of starting? You have to take a charge element, and it will be a length. Okay, so we'll take a charge element of length dl carrying a charge dq. Straight away you can see that dl is arc, therefore dl will be equal to r into d phi, because phi is the angle that this arc is subtending at the center, and capital R is the radius of the semicircle. Is this point clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. And next, what do? It is carrying a charge dq. Now, how do I write dq in terms of charge distribution? dq will be equal
Lambda
to
dl.
lambda into dl. Okay, and what is lambda? If q is the charge carried by the semicircle, if q is the charge carried by the semicircle, what will be lambda?
Q by pi r.
Q by pi r. Very good. Q by pi r. Who is this answering?
Akshara, ma'am.
Akshara. Very good. So dl, you can immediately write r d phi. Right. So this r and r will cancel out. Great. Next, what do? I have my element. So first, so immediately what should I do? Before anything, we should look for an axis of symmetry. So this is going to be my axis of symmetry. Okay, if I call this as my x-axis, my y-axis is the axis of symmetry. That means the picture is the same on the left and right side of the y-axis. On the right side, what I have is the mirror image of what is on the left-hand side. Okay, so that's the symmetry of the problem. Okay, now what is the next step I have to do? I have to write my df, right? So can you tell me what will be df? df is the force that Q naught experiences because of this small charge element. So df will be, we have done this in the last class. What is it? Right? Coulomb's law. 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught, then Q naught dq by, what is the distance? What is the
R
distance?
square.
R square, capital R square. I'm not writing a vector right now. I'm just writing it as a scalar. Now, if I have to show this vector, how will it be? It will look like this. And it will be repulsive because both are positive, right? It will be repulsive. Now, what do I next do? Another thing is, let me say that this angle is phi. Let me say that this element is located at an angle phi from the x-axis. Next, what do? I have to use symmetry. So what should I next do?
Consider an mirror element.
Exactly. Consider a mirror element here, also carrying a charge dq. Okay, same thing. Okay, and making the same angle phi. Making the same angle phi. So this fellow will make a force df in this direction. Okay, next what do? Next what do? So this angle is going to be phi. Therefore, my picture is not looking very good. So this is also going to be phi. Similarly, vertically opposite angles, this angle is also going to be phi. Next, what do? I just have to add them, right? I have to just add them. Okay, so what will the addition of two such vectors be? Two vectors like this, df, df, okay, same magnitude we are having. So the sum will be in this direction. The sum will be in this direction because there is a component in this direction. There is a component of this other vector in this direction. these two will cancel out. So there will be two vectors in this direction. Okay, so if this angle is phi and if this angle is going to be phi, so what will this be? This will be 2df cos theta or sin theta?
Sin theta.
Sin theta, sin phi, because it's going to be, just imagine this right angle triangle. Okay, so this is going to be vertical, therefore sin phi. Sin phi. So let me just call this as, this is the net force dF acting along the y-axis. So I will write it as dFy. Okay, so what will be the net force now? Net force will be, I have to do an integration of this dFy. And I have to take all elements starting from here to here. Starting from here to here. Similarly, here also you have to start from here and end here. So that means when I am taking an element here, what is the angle phi? What will be the value of phi for this element? Phi value will be 0. When you take an element here, phi value will be 0. When you take an element here, what will be the value of phi? Phi is this angle. What will be the value of phi when you take an element here? Here.
Pi by 2.
Pi by 2. That's right. So that's what we are going to do. We are going to take all elements from phi equal to 0 to phi equal to pi by 2. So let's just do that. So I will take my 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught outside. Then I have my q naught. I can keep that outside. And then dq is, after all, we have already written q naught. dq is lambda into dl. So that's going to be q by pi into d phi. Okay, from here I'm writing that. And then of course I have my r square. Okay, so let me just write all this. So my capital R square is a constant. My q is here. My pi is here. And then I have to now put this sin phi. And of course there is a 2. So let's put that also. And then integral sin phi d phi. And I have to do it from 0 to pi by 2. I'm doing it from 0 to pi by 2 because when I am coming with an element here, I'm coming with a mirror element here. So I don't have to go all the way till I reach pi. If I go from 0 to pi by 2 and multiply by 2, I am already doing the entire thing. Okay, so now can someone complete this? So can someone complete this? So I have done it. So let me just do that. So let's keep this as it is. And here, what will be integral cos phi? Integral cos phi will be, integral sin phi will be minus cos phi 0 to pi by 2. So when I substitute the limits, what will I get?
1.
What is cos pi by 2?
Minus 1, I think.
Yeah, so minus 1, and here cos 0 is? What is cos 0? Cos 0 is going to be 1. There is a minus already, so minus of minus, so plus 1. So finally, I will tell you the answer. The answer that you should get will be 2 into 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught, and then q naught into, I will write it in terms of lambda just so that it is easy, lambda divided by r. So that's going to be the net force, and the direction of the force is going to be this force, because all the forces are going to be pairing up like this. So the net final force will be in this direction. This will be the net force. Okay? So now do you feel confident that you will be able to work out a problem if given? Next, I will give you a problem which is simpler than this. Let's try that. Okay? Please come to the class with a pen and a pencil so that you will be able to work out. Only then, otherwise you are not engaging with the class. Okay, now try this. This is truly a one-dimensional problem. Read it. It's truly one-dimensional. How is it different from what we have seen in the past? You must tell me. Find the force on a positive charge Q located at a distance x from the end of a rod of length L carrying a positive charge capital Q. Does this problem remind you of something we have done the last 2 days? Talk, guys, otherwise I am just talking to my system. Am I in some way not allowing you to talk in my class? Is there something like that happening? Seriously, something is wrong. Are you people able to follow what I am doing here?
Yes, ma'am.
Now then why are you all not talking? Talk, it's like a normal class. Just talk. Okay, so now, does this problem remind you of something we did? Yesterday, do you remember we did this? You had a length L and then you went from minus L by 2 to plus L by 2. This was your origin, and at a distance y, you placed a charge Q0 and found the net force on Q0. You remember this?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so this is what I have given today is much more simpler. It's just one dimensional. It's just one dimensional. So please guide me. Teach me how to do this problem. So how do I do it? Consider.
An infinitesimal element.
Yeah, consider an infinitesimal element, charge element. What? Charge element dq of length. This is along a line. So let us say of length dl located at, I should also give the location immediately, located at a distance small l. So what I'll do is I'll just take this small length element of length dl carrying a charge dq at a distance small l from the end. Okay, next what do I do? Next, what do I do? First of all, do I know my lambda?
Capital Q by L.
Q by L, right. Now, can I write my dq in terms of lambda?
Yes, ma'am.
Lambda into dl. Okay. Next, what do? I have to write my df. So, what is my df going to be? I'll write k. I won't write 1 by 4 pi. So, k q then lambda. So, I will, let me not skip the step. Somebody may miss it. So, what do I write here? Q then dq divided by, what is the distance of this element from Q? Of dq from Q?
Plus L.
X plus L, right, very good. X plus L whole square. Okay, so that's your force, or I can write one more step. So Q then lambda into dl divided by X plus L whole square. Okay, what is the direction of this force? Let me put the force vector on Q. What will be the direction of this force? It will be repulsive. This will be the direction. Okay, now tell me, how do I get the net force on Q? Net force. Net force will be, sorry, it will be integral df. It will be integral df. Okay, but now tell me, how is this problem going to be different from the previous problems? Take an element here and tell me how the force direction will be. Same as the previous one, right? If I take an element here also, the same force. Or in other words, now for the first time we are seeing a problem where all the forces are parallel to each other. I don't have to look for any symmetry in this problem. Every element is going to repel that Q, repel the charge Q. Okay, so it's simply going to be a series of DFs which are having the same direction. So I don't have to look for any symmetry. All I have to do is just do the integration. So let me integrate. So what do I get? K, Q, lambda, then integral dl divided by x plus L whole square. Okay, now what do I do? If I take an element here, which is the variable in this problem? Tell me, which is the variable in this integral?
L.
Small L.
Small L is the integral. Okay, that is a variable. Okay, if I take an element here, what is L? Here, L will be equal to
0.
0. If I take an element here, L will be equal to
Capital L.
capital L. Very good. So now put it here, 0 to capital L. Now do it. Let's do it. This is not going to be very difficult. I will simply make a small substitution here in case people are not very good with integration. Let me say that let x plus L be equal to some A. Okay, x is a constant, please. In this problem, x is a constant. Remove that x is a variable. X is a constant, small l is a variable. Therefore, dl will be equal to dA. Then, how do I set the limits? When L equal to 0, A will be equal to x. When L equal to capital L, A will be equal to x plus capital L. What happened? The pen is not writing. Okay. X plus, what's happening to my pen? Okay, so let's just put it here. So what do I write here? I will write, instead of dl, I will write dA, and then here I will write x plus, he's not writing here. Okay, so I think I've gone out. So here I should write, instead of x plus L whole square, I should write a square, and then the limits of integration will go from x to x plus L. Yeah. Yeah, now do it. So K, Q, lambda, then minus minus 1 by, or I will put that minus here. So 1 by x plus L minus 1 by x. Then, so that becomes minus k q lambda, and then I have x into x plus L, and then here I will have x minus L. X and s goes, this minus and minus will become plus. Therefore, I will finally get my force to be k q lambda L divided by x into x plus L. And what will be the direction? The direction will be to the right. So the direction of the force is going to be this. Is that difficult? Lambda, you can write it as capital Q by L, so L and L will get cancelled out. It will become further simple. K, Q, capital Q divided by x into x plus L. Is it difficult? Nobody wants to talk. Yeah, if you people talk, then I will lose my interest in teaching. Let me tell you now itself. Any doubts on this problem?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So now do you think you can work out simple problems like this? What? No confidence? I will now ask you one question. Let us see whether you are able to answer this. Okay. So the problem I'm going to give you is, I'll insert a new slide. Okay, so this numerical goes like this. Let me just ask you. Okay, I have a uniformly charged rod. Half of it of length L, half of it is positive. Okay, the other half is negative. And from the origin at a distance y, I have a charge q naught. How will you approach this problem? How will it be different from what you did yesterday? My God, I didn't ask any Nobel Prize question. Immediately, an element you take, then tell me what will be the direction of the force. I will call this force as dF plus because it's coming because of the plus force. Okay, on this direction, if I draw, what will be the direction of the arrow for the mirror element?
Attractive.
Attractive. Therefore, this. So I will call it dF minus. So if I call this angle theta and this angle is theta, then this angle will be theta, this angle is theta, therefore this is going to be 90 minus theta, this is going to be 90 minus theta, okay, therefore the force will be in this direction. The force will be in this direction. It is going to be a sine component that will add up. Are you able to see it?
Yes, ma'am.
That's all. Nothing, we won't be asking you something which you can't, and these are all very simple. From whatever you've done, can you do one step ahead? Can you think? That's all. Okay, now hoping that you have understood whatever we have done till this now. So we have been doing one line, then from that we went to a ring, which is again a wire only. Okay, now we will go to a two-dimensional charge distribution. Okay, so what we are going to have here is a disk. It's going to be a disk of charge carrying a uniform charge. It's a disk carrying a uniform charge, and then the radius of the disk is capital R, and let the total charge on it be some q, and along the axis at a distance z, you place a positive charge q naught. What is the force experienced by q naught is what you are supposed to find. Okay, and remember one thing. This is just taking the previous, that ring problem, and going one step ahead. Okay, so what you have to at the same time realize is that this is going to be a surface charge distribution. This is going to be a surface charge distribution. Therefore, first thing you do is write your sigma. Surface charge is total charge divided by the area. Area of a circular disk, is pi r square. Okay. Next, what you do is you have to take elements. Taking an element, okay, take an element having a charge dq. You can take the element the way you want. So what you're going to now do is, the element that you're going to take is going to be this circle. This purple color, what do you call this color? I don't know what it is. Lavender. Okay, this is the lavender ring that you're seeing here, no? That is the element that you're going to take. So this ring is going to have a charge dq. Okay, next, we have to say something about this ring. So let us say that this ring is going to have a width dw and it is having a radius w. It's having a radius w and it is having a width dw and it is carrying a charge dq. Okay, and let this ring be at a slant height r, small r from q naught. Okay, so first thing you do is write your dq. Write your dq. So dq is going to be sigma into dA because it's a surface charge distribution. The ring itself is a surface. Okay, so sigma into dA. And here what you do is let us write what is dA. So it is going to be sigma into what will be the area of the ring? The circumference of the ring is going to be 2 pi w and the width is dw Therefore, if I take this circle and cut it and make it into a rectangle, the area will be 2 pi w into dw. Are you following this step, girls?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So that's the reason why we are getting it as 2 pi w into dw. That is, I am having a ring of radius, for others who have not understood, of radius w and having a thickness dw. If I were to cut it and make it into a straight ribbon, okay, it will have a length 2 pi w and it will have a width dw. Therefore, I will get the area as 2 pi w dw. Okay. Next, I have to write the expression for the force. So now what I am going to do is I am just going to take an expression that I got in the previous slide for the ring. For the ring, if you remember, we have written K into Q. Q was the charge on the ring. Q naught was the point charge. And here we had Z by Z square plus capital R square. Do you remember this? If you want, I'll write it again. You had taken this expression F equal to K Q Q naught Z divided by Z square plus R square to the power of 3 by 2. So this was the expression for a ring. Expression for a ring. A ring of radius, I think if I come there, I cannot write. Radius capital R. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just use the same result, but now the total ring has become a charge element for me. So instead of F, I will write dF. Similarly, instead of Q, I will write dQ. And then instead of R, I will write W. How many of you understood this step? Did you understand this step?
Yes,
Ma'am,
Yeah.
ma'am, can you repeat, please?
You want me to repeat it? I will repeat it. I'll repeat it. Do you see the sticked equation that I have written at the bottom of the page?
Yes, ma'am.
This is what we derived in the last class for a ring. For a ring of radius capital R carrying a total charge Q.
Okay, ma'am.
But now what we are doing is we are imagining this entire circle to be made up of a number of circular sheets, circular rings, concentric rings. Are you understanding?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we are taking one such, and each is having some charge. Okay, so we are taking one such element. One such element that we have taken is this purple color or lavender color ring. This ring is carrying a charge dq and it is having a radius w and it has got a width dw. Okay, so if I write the expression for, because it is, I'm considering it as a element of that plate, I am not going to write it as f, I'm going to write it as df. Okay, next, k comes as it is. Instead of q, I will write dq because now my ring has got only a charge dq. Then q naught z divided by z square plus capital R to the power of 3 by 2 I had. Now my radius is w, so I write w. Now is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. Now dq I have already written. dq I have written in terms of sigma. Sigma and the dimension of the ring. Okay. Now that I have done it, I have to now look at what is the direction of this force. In the last class, we have seen that the direction of this force is going to be df along the z-axis. And I know that any ring like this, if I take, okay, let us take a ring w equal to radius equal to 0 to a ring here with radius equal to capital R. For any ring like that, the force is going to be parallel like this only. So that means, again, I don't have to do any component. All I have to do is I have to take all such rings and integrate. Force due to each of these rings I have to take and integrate. You understood that now?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. So my W is my variable in this problem. So starting from W equal to 0, okay, at the center I have W equal to 0. 2, at the edge I have W equal to capital R. So I just have to do an integration. All constants I have taken out because Z is also a constant. All my constants are out and I do this integration and I have put a z cap to say that this is going to be my direction of the force. Now if I complete this integration, so this is the answer I'm going to get. Okay, now what we will do is, so that means if I have a uniform ring of plate of charge, and if I have a charge Q0, it will experience a repulsive force along the axis in the upward direction. That's it. Okay, now what we'll do is, we will put some conditions and see. So I have my equation here. Now let's put the condition. What if Z becomes much, much greater than R? Straight away you should tell me, if Z becomes much, much greater than R, what will happen?
Force is 0.
No, I'm not saying Z tends to infinity. Z is much, much greater than R is all I'm saying.
R
Q0
will be neglected.
will not see it as a plate, it will see it as a point. It will see it as a point. Therefore, here itself you can see, it will quite simply come that when Z becomes much, much greater than R, okay, so what I will do is Z divided by Z I will take out, and then under root of 1 plus R square by Z square. So what will happen? So I'm just taking this expression and writing. Z and Z will cancel out, so 1 by, and then what will this become? Z is much, much greater than R. Therefore, this term will become 0. So I will get 1. I'm sorry, I didn't. What did I say? Why should I do all that? Z R square by Z square. I'm sorry. I don't need to do all this. One sec. Straight away, I have my Z numerator. If I fix it to infinity, I don't need to do all that. Okay, Z tends to 0. Sorry. Z is much, much greater than R. Okay, Z becomes much, much greater than R. Therefore, it this term will become equal to 0. One sec. Z is much, much greater than R. Therefore, I can struggle to the terms. You just do it yourself and see, you will be able to show that the force expression will become 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q naught sigma, I'm missing something, sigma by, okay, let's not write it in terms of sigma. I'll tell you what one should finally get. You should be able to get a Q naught Q divided by Z square. Check and see, you should get this. Okay, next thing. What if the disk is negatively charged? If the disk is negatively charged, the force will be attractive. Then, let's come here. What will be the force on Q naught if R is much, much greater than Z? R is much, much greater than Z. Then what will happen? If R is much, much greater than Z, you can show that F will be equal to Q naught sigma by 2 epsilon naught. And then here you will have 1 minus Z divided by under root of Z square plus R square. Okay, since Z tends to 0, so this term will disappear. Okay, therefore you will get force is equal to Q naught sigma by 2 epsilon naught. So this will be the expression for the force when the size of the plate is very, very large when compared to the distance Z. Or you can put it in another word, if Q naught is very close to the disk. If Q naught is very close to the disk also, the disk will appear to be large. Okay, so then in that case you see the force will be equal to Q naught sigma by 2 epsilon naught. Or this is actually a very good result. Okay, this will imply that This will imply that F doesn't depend on R or shape of the charge distribution. F does not depend on the geometry of the charge distribution. It is a uniform charge distribution. It is a flat charge distribution, all right. So when you take points very close to it, it just depends on sigma only. What is the charge distribution? Not the shape of the plate. Or maybe my English is not very good here. I shouldn't write this. I can instead say F doesn't depend on the shape of the object, of the flat object. Even if it was a square, you would have got the same result only. It depends on sigma. It depends on sigma. It doesn't depend on whether, see, that is actually, you know, I will give you an example to prove my point. The earth is a sphere. You can see it as a sphere only when you are in the outer space, right? Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. You see it as a sphere when you are in the outer space. If you are somewhere closer to sun or something, you don't even see it as a sphere, you will see it as a point object, point mass. Okay. The same if you come to the surface of the earth, come close to the surface of the earth, do you see it as a sphere? What will you see the earth as? You are only able to see a small part of the earth. Your vision is only to that small portion of the earth, and earth looks flat for you, right? So the situation that we have discussed here is very, very similar to that. You have a circular plate. From a medium distance, you are able to see it as a circular plate when Z and R are comparable. When your Z becomes much, much larger than R, you don't see it as a disk, you see it as a dot, a point charge. Similarly, when your Q0 is brought very, very close to that disk, the disk is no longer, you are not able to distinguish whether it is a circular, your Q0 is not able to distinguish whether it is a circular disk or a square disk or whatever. It is only able to sense the sigma, the charge distribution. Is that fine? I hope my analogy is making things clearer for you. Okay, so now here we have a problem. Let's try this. Let's see how many of you are able to approach this. Read it. I'll give you a minute for reading. So you have two circular discs. Radius is 5 centimeters. So 5 centimeters and radius 0.05 meter. Okay, separated by 6 centimeters. 6 centimeters, 0.06 meter. There are two circular discs of radius r separated by 6 centimeters and they are lying along a common axis. The discs carry equal and opposite charges distributed uniformly over their surfaces. How much charge should each disc possess so that a tiny oil drop of mass 4 into 10 to the power of minus 15 kg and carrying a charge minus E is balanced midway between the two plates? Is balanced midway between the two plates. So here is one plate, here is another plate. So I have two plates, okay, and let A be the area of the plates, okay. So A will be equal to pi capital R square, which is pi into 0.05 square. Then let D be the gap between them. Let D be the gap between them. So D is going to be 0.06 meter. One of them is positive, the other is negative. Okay? And the problem says that you are going to have an oil drop. This is Millikan's oil drop experiment, guys. There is an oil drop which you want to suspend halfway between the two. It should not fall. It should be balanced exactly at the center. And what is given about this oil drop? This oil drop is having a mass m equal to 4 into 10 to the power of minus 15 kg and it is carrying a charge equal to minus E, or I will say Q equal to minus 1.6 into 10 to the power of minus 19 coulomb. Okay, so for this to happen, what should be the charge on the two plates? Let Q be the charge on the two plates. First thing that I want you to answer is which plate should be positive, which plate should be negative. They carry equal and opposite charges. First of all, how will it balance? How will this oil drop balance? It will balance if there is a force. What is a downward force? It has got a mass. So what will be the downward force? What is trying to keep it down? mg. mg is a downward force. And what should be the force that is trying to keep it up? There should be an equal force. Let me call that force as electrostatic force Fe. Okay, or I should have my Fe equal to my mg. If both these are going to be equal, then my charge will stay there. And remember, it is a negatively charged object. Negatively charged object. So if it has to experience a pull in the upward direction, what should be the sign of the charge on the upper plate?
Positive.
Positive, right. It should be positive. Okay. So automatically, the lower plate should be negative. Even otherwise, you see, if the lower plate is negative, it is going to it is going to repel the oil drop. And the positive plate is going to try to pull it in the upward direction. And both these plates are carrying equal charges. Therefore, you not say that each of them exerts the same force on this oil drop? Both of them are going to exert a force in the upward direction. So can't I say that Fe is also equal to 2 times the upward force exerted by one of the plates? I can call it as 2 times Q naught. I won't say Q naught. I should. What is the charge on the oil drop? The charge on the oil drop is not Q naught. The charge on the oil drop is 1.6 into 10 to the power of minus 19. And then sigma. Sigma is what is sigma? Tell me. Sigma is my unknown charge Q. My unknown charge Q divided by the area of the plate. And then, of course, I have my 2 epsilon naught. In case you are wondering what I'm doing, I'm just taking this equation, guys. I'm just taking this equation and filling up. I'm putting a 2 here because each plate, this is the equation because of one plate, the force because of one plate. But both the plates are actually exerting the same force in the upward direction. So 2 times. Okay? Instead of Q naught, I'm putting 1.6 in it into the power of minus 19. This 2 epsilon naught I'm putting. And instead of sigma, I'm putting Q by A. Charge is Q on the plate, A is the area. And then here, what do I write? 1 minus, what is Z? What is Z? Anyone? What is Z?
D by 2.
D by 2, yes. Z is D by 2, right. So here, instead of Z, I put D by 2 and then divided by under root of D by 2 whole square plus R square. Okay, so what do I have to simply do? And I know my mg. I know my mg. So what is it I need to find? I know my A. I know my A because I know my R. So I know my A. Then I know my charge 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19. This 2 and 2 will cancel out. I know my sigma naught. I know my D also because D is 0.06 meter. I know my capital R because capital R is equal to 0.05 meter. So what is it I don't know?
Q.
I only don't know Q. And on this side, what do I know? I know my M because mass is given. Mass is given. I know my M. So substitute and then get Q. Just find Q. Bring everything else to the other side of the equation. That's all. So it's simply going to be mg epsilon naught divided by 1.6 into 10 to the power of minus 19 and then into A. Then divided by 1 by 1 minus d by 2 divided by d by 2 whole square plus r square under. That's it. Substitute and get your Q. Okay, so I just worked out this problem. The value of Q that was obtained was 35 into 10 to the power of minus 9 coulomb, which is 35 nano coulomb. Okay, so look at this very simple idea. A plate carrying a charge will attract or repel a point charge. So what do? You take two plates. Take two plates and in between them you suspend an oil drop by suitably charging these two plates. So what is happening? Mg, which is pulling it down, is counteracted by the push from the lower plate and the pull from the upper plate. That's it. Is this clear?
Yes, ma'am.
That's it. Okay, so I think we have done a lot today. I don't intend to take any class for more than 15 minutes because the reason why the timetable is showing 1 hour for every class is because your, what do you call this? Google Meet has got this limitation. It cannot set timings in between. So that's the reason why the timings are given like that. So this 10 minutes gap, we have to actually give you so that you have time to take some water or wash your face and get into the next class. So I don't think that I am leaving you, other teachers may be taking for more than 1 hour also. I'm intentionally leaving you because I know that this time is only 50, it is not 1 hour. I'm supposed to leave you so that you take a small break and get into the next class. Meanwhile, I have 2 minutes time. Do any of you have any doubts regarding today's class? Some of you are new to me. Are you comfortable with this style of operation? If you have a problem, tell me now. This is just a second class. Anyone? Are you comfortable? That also you are not answering. Are you not comfortable? That also you are not answering. What am I supposed to understand? Are you comfortable?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So if I teach this way, is it okay for you?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
See, all of us are individuals. Each of us has our own style of doing things. Okay. So if you want any change, this is the time to talk to me. You can tell me, ma'am, we want you to do it in this particular fashion. Anything, any change you want, you just tell me at this stage. If you're comfortable, I continue in this fashion. Okay. And another thing is, I'm sorry to disappoint you. Monday is not a holiday. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Monday is not a holiday. It was actually a false news that Monday was a holiday. I don't know who told it was a holiday. It is not a holiday. For Holi, there is no holiday. Because anyway, government also wants you to sit at home only, no? Not be seen around, seen playing outside. So our lab will be there. So go with section 1 going for chemistry, section 2 and 3 for physics. Please be ready, write everything, prepare, and then come to the lab session on Monday. Okay, sorry to disappoint you. Okay, then I think we can call it a day. You can leave. Thank you. Okay. So you can leave now.